Hello, welcome to our channel Elimika Mtandaoni. My name is Agustino Mogosi. We are in the 8th lecture on a series of lectures on information systems. And in this lecture today, we will be talking about how you can use information system to achieve what we call a competitive advantage. Before we proceed, I'll just talk to you about one thing we have been observing. Almost every industry, you will find some firms that do better than others. For example, we have, let's say, telecommunication industries. We have companies like Vodacom, Tigo Pesa, Tigo companies, Airtel companies, and so many other companies like TTCL here in Tanzania. We can find that among these companies in the same industry that we call telecommunications industry, we find that there are some among these companies or among these firms do better than others. That means they have a large number of customers, they sell more to customers, and they get more profit from customers. So there is almost always a standing out firm. We have other industries like movie industry nowadays. We find there are some artists do better than others. There are some that underperform and some that outperform. Firms that do better than others, these are the ones that we call they have what we call they have a high competitive advantage compared to the other. In any event that you do in terms of let's say revenue growth or profitability or productivity, all of which ultimately in the long run translate into higher stock market valuations than their competitors, then these firms that have higher revenue, they have higher profitability, higher productivity, that means efficiency grows faster. Such companies, we say they have a competitive advantage over other organizations. When we say competitive advantage, what does it mean? Actually, competitive advantage refers to those factors that allow a company to produce goods or services better or more cheaply than its rivals. Think of this, you have a company that can produce goods with a high quality or services which are very better, and they produce such things with at a very low price. So these factors actually allow the product, we say this, the productive entity to generate more sales or superior margins compared to its rivals. So speaking of this word competitive advantage, as we have said, it refers to a number of factors. So we have a number of factors that once these factors are followed, are found within a certain organization, then they make such an organization to produce goods or services of high quality and at a very cheap price. So that is what it means by competitive advantage. As we have said, there are several factors, then there are various of factors that attribute to what we call competitive advantage. And one among the factors is cost structure. So you find some organizations that produce at a lower cost and some organizations produce at a higher cost. So if an organization happens to produce at a lower cost, then we say this organization has high competitive advantage in terms of cost. There are some organizations with the branding images which are good, so they sell a lot of stuffs because they have created their own brands. There are some organizations that have high quality products, they have low cost, but they lack what we call branding. So branding can also be another factor that attributes to an organization to have what we call competitive advantage. Another thing is the quality of product offerings. So you find companies like, let's say, iPhone, the companies that sell iPhone, the Apple company, it produces its product with very high quality, and also they have these what called the branding images, and when it comes in terms of cost, here it's not very true. Another thing is about the distribution network. How is that product distributed? How the coverage of distribution of the products? Then that can be another factor that can attribute to the competitive advantage of a certain company. So these are the factors that we have been talking about. They are the factors that they allow company to produce goods and services which are very better, or which are with the high quality, and they can produce such products in a very low cost. Competitive advantage is what makes an entity product or services more desirable to customers than that of any other rivals. So you may find that a certain company sells more than other companies. This is because that company has higher competitive advantage as compared to another company. But why do some firms do better than others, and how do they achieve what we call competitive advantage? We will see that in the coming slides. But now let us talk about the types of competitive advantage. Speaking of competitive advantage, it can be broken down into two parts, or into two types. The first one is what we call comparative advantage. Comparative advantage is that company's ability to produce something more efficiently than a rival, and this can lead to greater profit margins. So if you have two companies, company A and company B, and you find this company A produces things more efficiently, that means it produces stuffs at a very high speed and with high quality, then we say this company A has high competitive advantage as compared to a company B, and that type of competitive advantage, we call it comparative advantage. Now we have another type of competitive advantage, we call it differential advantage. Speaking of differential advantage, comes from the word differentiation. This is when a company's products are seen as both unique and higher quality relative to those of competitors. If you have, again, you have company A and company B, then these company A produces products that are very unique, that they do not resemble with other products of other companies. They are very unique, and such products, they have higher quality relative to those of the competitors. Then we say this company A has high competitive advantage as compared to the other company. Now we asked ourselves, why do some firms do better than others, and how they can achieve what we call competitive advantage? Now let us proceed to this lecture and see the answer to that question. The answer to that question is found when we see what we call Michael Porter's competitive advantage, competitive forces model. So this model will be the one that can answer the question as to why do some firms do better than others, and how do they achieve the competitive advantage. Porter competitive forces model, this is the most widely used model for understanding competitive advantage, and it was found by a person called Michael Porter. As you can see here in this model, this figure here, you can see it has about, it views the firm, the competitors, and its environment. The Porter's model is all about the firm's general business environment. So in the model, the first strategic position of the firm and its strategies are determined not only by competition with its traditional direct competitors, but also by other four forces in the industry. So we see it's not only about the competitor that this firm has. It's not all about the competitor that this firm has. We say this is a firm and here is the competitor. So it is not determined when you talk about the strategic position of the firm. The strategic position of the firm is not only determined by the competition that exists here, but also is determined by other forces that are exerted into the firm. So we have some forces here into the firm, and these forces are four important forces. One is new market entrants, the second one is substitute products, the third one is customers, and the fourth one is suppliers. So we look at all these forces. That means in general, Porter's competitive force model has about four forces. The first one is traditional competitors. The second one is new market entrants. The third one is the bargaining power of suppliers, and the fourth one is the bargaining power of customers and the substitute products. Starting with the traditional competitors here, this as the first force, Porter's competitive model forces. We say that all firms have market space with other competitors. Even if you start a unique business today, but you will eventually have competitors. And these competitors are continuously devising new, more efficient ways to produce their products. And they introduce new products and services, and they attempt to attract customers by developing their brands and imposing switch costs on their customers. So you have competitors. Any company can have competitors. So that competitor can be one among the forces, the competitive forces as identified by Michael Porter. So that is one among the forces. The second force is new market entrants. New companies are always entering the marketplace. So if you start a business today, just know that tomorrow there will be new other companies that will be starting their businesses, and they will be starting in the same marketplace as you are. So in some industries, there are very, very, very low barriers to entry. That means a company can enter into market very easily. So there are few or there are little barriers. So entry is not very difficult. For instance, it is fairly easy for a person to start a chips mayai business, for example. That's why you find every place you go, you find people selling chips mayai, because there is a very little barrier to entry. There is a very little area to barrier to entry. Or think of any small retail business. You are selling, let's say, pipi, you are selling biscuits, etc. Then because the capital is very low, then it is very possible for many businesses to enter such a business. So barriers to entry to market is very lowered. But it is very difficult, or it is very much expensive to enter some other businesses. For example, today it's not possible, it's not that easy for a person to enter a computer chip business. This computer chip business has a very high capital costs, and it requires significant expensive and knowledge is needed that is very hard to obtain. So new companies have several possible advantages. They have higher or younger workers who are less expensive and perhaps more innovative. However, these advantages of these new companies can also be their weaknesses because they depend on outside financing. They need sponsors, and for new plants and equipments which can be somehow expensive. So they have less experienced workforce, and they have little brand recognition. So despite the fact that it is a force, it is a problem to existing firms, but the entry of these new companies can also be weakened by the fact that they have less experience and they depend much on outside financing for them to progress. Now, let us talk about substitute product as another Porter's competitive force. In just about every industry, there are what we call substitute products that customers might use if certain prices become too high. I will give you an example. Think of this. Let's go here and see an example. Think of this one here. You can have two products. One is coffee and another one is tea. So if you have a company selling coffee and you try to raise your price, let's say at first you are selling coffee for 200 and you decide to sell coffee for 400. The reason could be the higher production cost, probably. But at the same time, there are some other people that sell tea for 50 shillings. Then this tea could be taken as a substitute product, because a person drinking coffee can decide to shift and drink tea. So substitute products are also forces to competitive advantages. So new technologies, when we talk about new technologies, these new technologies create new substitutes at all times. So the introduction of things like internet has brought new products. So nowadays people can shift from one product to another or from one service to another. Think of this. At first, when we were in schools, we were buying books, paper-based books. But there is a new product which is e-book, which is more cheaper as compared to paper books. So you find that a paper book being sold for 5,000 and an electronic book being sold for only 500 shillings. So this e-book can be taken as a substitute product. So the more substitute products and services in your industry, the less you can control pricing. So that means you will find yourself, you have to lower your pricing because there are some substitute products in the particular industry. Let's move again to another force. This other force, we call it the bargaining power of customers. The bargaining power of customers. A profitable company actually depends in large measures on its ability to attract and retain customers. And as you are doing that, you should deny them to your competitors, and you have to charge them high prices. So for you to get profit, then you need to make sure that you attract more customers and you make sure that the customers are retained. That means they cannot move out of your business. So the power of customers keep growing if they can easily switch to a competitor's product and services, or if they can force a business and its competitors to compete on price alone in a transparent market where there is little product differentiation and all prices are known instantly. For example, if we have the internet technology being there, then the competition becomes higher because these customers, they get power to shift from one company to another company. Think of this. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have a business, an online business. Let's say an online business, you are selling clothes, and there is another online business selling clothes, and there is another online business selling clothes. So the power of customers can grow here because of the internet, simply because the customer can be able to compare your pricing, the price that you offer, the price of your competitor, and the price of your other competitor. So the power of customers keeps growing if they can easily switch from one competitor to another competitor. So that is another force, Porter's among the Porter's 5 forces. There is another force that we call the bargaining power of suppliers, the market power of suppliers. We say the market power of suppliers can have a significant impact on firms' profit, especially when the firm cannot raise prices as fast as suppliers can. That means your supplier can sell products to you at a very high price, and for you it becomes very difficult for you to raise up the prices, because if you raise up the prices, then there is a possibility your customers to run away from your business. So the market power of these suppliers have great significant impact on the firm's profit. So the more different suppliers a firm has, then the greater control it can exercise over suppliers in terms of price, in terms of quality, and the delivery schedule. So it is likely, or it is basically very important if you are engaged in businesses to have large number of suppliers, because if you have a large number of suppliers, then you have greater choices. You can either opt for supplier 1 or supplier 2 or supplier 3, and in that case the marketing power of the suppliers gets lowered and your bargaining power grows up. So those are the 5 forces, Porter's 5 forces. Now, so what is a firm to do when it is faced with all these competitive forces, and how can the firm use information system to counteract some of these forces? Remember, these are the forces that exert on your business or a company's business. So what should a company do? How do a company become the most successful firm in an industry in terms of profit and share price? So the basic strategy is to align the IT with the business objectives. That is the main important thing. The basic principle for IT strategy for business is to ensure the technology serves the business and not the other way around. The research on IT and business performance has found out two important things. The first one is the more successful a firm can align its IT with its business goals, the more profitable it will be. So we have to, we have to align businesses with the IT. The second thing is all about a quarter of firms achieve alignment of IT with the business. So if you work hard on aligning IT with the business, then there is a possibility for you to make your firm more successful, despite the fact that your firm is faced with all these competitive forces as identified by Porter. Successful firms and managers understand what IT can do and how it works, and take an active role in shaping its use and measure its impact on revenues and profit. So we cannot leave aside IT. So how do you, as a manager, you are a manager, you want to achieve this IT alignment with the business? So in this video, we will discuss some basic ways to do this. Now, let us see how this works in real practice. There are 4 generic strategies, each of which is often enabled by using IT and IS. There are 4 basic strategies, and these are the strategies. 4 basic strategies. The first strategy is low-cost leadership. Low-cost leadership. You have to use information system to achieve lowest operational costs, and hence you will have to lower your prices. So if you use information technology using IT, then there is a possibility of you to remove some costs, some operational costs to pay workers, because now most of the things will be done over, let's say, the internet. For example, if at first you had to pay a customer, a worker to receive orders, but with the use of IT, such orders can be received via the internet or via other information technologies that exist out there. So low-cost leadership, it means that you have to use information technology to lower operational costs, the cost of operating your business. We have another strategy which we call product differentiation. This one, product differentiation. Use information system to enable new products and services, or greatly change the customer convenience in using your existing products and the services. Example, we have a company called Google that continuously introduces new and unique search services on its website. Nowadays, we have what we call Google Maps, we have what we call Google Docs, Google Classroom, and so many other services that are produced by this Google company. We have to differentiate your product from other companies. For example, we have a Mwananchi company. Mwananchi company has transformed its business nowadays. Instead of just basing on paper-based newspapers, now Mwananchi sells newspapers online. Mwananchi takes advantage of the information technology to sell his papers online. So businesses nowadays use electronic payment systems like the PayPesa, the PayPal, or the mobile electronic money like Airtel Money, M-Pesa, to receive their payments. So there is no need now for a customer to move from wherever he is to go to a shop to make payment. Nowadays, payments can be done over the internet. So that is among the advantages or the strategies that a company can opt to overcome these Potter's 5 forces. Nowadays, also, we even have retailers that use information systems to create products and services that are customized and personalized to fit the precise specifications of individual customers. Nowadays, individual businesses and government agencies can also buy products directly from manufacturers. For example, we have a mobile application called Kiku. That means with using Kiku, a person here in Dar es Salaam can buy a product from China directly from the manufacturer from China, and this manufacturer ships the product to this customer who is in Dar es Salaam. That is what we call product differentiation. Another strategy that we can use is focus on market niche. You can use information system to enable a specific market focus and serve this narrow target market better than competitors. If you know business well, then instead of serving a large number of customers, you can, from this large number of customers, segment them. You can segment them into different segments, and you can choose one segment among them and serve that, and that you will call it a target market. For example, instead of just selling clothes, you can just sell male clothes. And instead of just selling male clothes, you can just sell underwears for male. So, but in order for you to work better, you have to get information about your customers. How do you get information about your customers? Information are out there. Using internet, it is possible for you to get to know your customers, and in that case, you can have a specific market focus that you can serve that particular market. Information systems support this strategy by producing and analyzing data for finely tuned sales and marketing techniques. Information systems enable companies to analyze customer buying patterns, so you can see how a customer buys. What are the tastes of a particular customer, the preferences of a certain customer, so that using this, then you can efficiently pitch advertising and marketing campaigns to smaller and smaller target markets. These data come from a very range of sources. For example, the credit cards can tell you about your customers, the demographic data from these social media accounts, the purchase data from different checkout counters, the scanners at some stores, and the data that are collected when people access and interact with the website. So if you are selling online and you have a website, there are things that we call cookies that they can collect some information for you, and from there you can use such information to serve a targeted group of customers. Another strategy Another strategy is what we call strengthening customer and supplier intimacy. You can use information system to tighten linkages with the suppliers and develop intimacy with the customers. Get to know your customers. There are strong linkages to customers and suppliers, and that increase switching costs and loyalty to your firm. So get to know your customers, the likes of your customer, the dislikes, and from there you can personalize the products according to customer needs. Now, let us see another important thing, the impact of internet on competitive advantage. We know that the internet has nearly destroyed some industries. There are some industries nowadays, they have been closed due to this availability or the use of internet. There are some organizations that do not use information systems are now left out, and those that embrace internet have now taken over the business. So the internet has created entirely new markets. The internet has formed the basis for thousands of other new businesses. So internet, through what we call electronic commerce, has transformed the business world. Nowadays, the business world of books, we have e-books nowadays. We have musics, we can buy music online. If we want to travel, air travel or land travel, now we can book air tickets, we can book bus tickets. For example, a Shabibi company nowadays uses what ticket booking mobile application, where a customer can book for a ticket wherever and at whenever he is. We have telephone services nowadays. These companies are competing the use of internet. Nowadays we have mobile apps for M-Pesa, for Tigo Pesa, for Airtel Money. They are using information technology to deliver their services to their customers. We have movies now, we can use Netflix to watch movies. Newspapers, now we can read news online. We have real estate services, hotels reservation systems, bill payments. We can buy even softwares online. So because of the internet, the traditional competitive forces are still at work, but much competitive rival has become much more intense. Because information is available to everyone, then the internet raises the bargaining power of customers who can quickly find the lowest cost provider on the web. So there are some negative impacts. There are some negative impacts to businesses. So the forces that we have seen, the substitute products and services, the customer bargaining power, the suppliers bargaining power, the threat of new entrants, all these are facilitated with the introduction of internet. Nowadays, internet has enabled new substitutes to emerge with the new approaches to meeting needs and performing functions. Nowadays, there is availability of global price and product information that shifts the bargaining power to customers. There is, now we talk about procurement over the internet that tends to raise bargaining power over suppliers. The suppliers can also benefit from the reduced barriers to entry and from the elimination of distributors and other intermediaries standing between them and their users. Now we have the internet that reduces barriers to entry, such as there is no need for a cell force. You cannot access the channels or physical assets. So internet provides a technology for driving business processes that makes other things easier to do. If we talk about positioning and rival among existing competitors, now internet widens the geographic market, increasing the number of competitors and reduces differences among competitors. It makes it more difficult to sustain operational advantages and puts pressure to compete on price. So internet has brought some negative impact on organizations, but if organizations decide to embrace this internet, then there is a high possibility for them to grow and have higher competitive advantage. So thank you very much for following Elimika Mtandaoni. Thank you for subscribing. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not subscribed. My name is Agustino Mogosi. See you in the 9th lecture.